Old Orchard Beach used to be nice. There's wild Canadians coming down, cutting
Okay.
loose. They think that LL Bean is their Giorgio Armani. Canadians. They're like, oh, honey, put on some Bean tonight. I'm wearing Bean right now.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. A and B, Brad Tesh with always on my mind, at least anyway, your favorite masshole, my favorite masshole, Reid, mother effing Homer is here, filling in for the Fijian Warrior, Sean Valancourt, who is off writing jokes somewhere, telling them poorly probably, and doing the Lord's work. Reid, hello, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
You beautiful son of a gun. I'm going to do my best to be Sean, and I'm going to talk about the NHL standings, even though I don't think it's crazy favorable for Toronto, for my Maple Leafs. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Cleveland, Deshaun Watson. I'm Buffalo's tank. We got a lot to talk about today, Brad.
Yeah, can we talk about how 2 weeks ago Deshaun Watson said that not being able to play was the most sorry he's ever been in his entire life?
That's rich.
Yeah.
That is absolutely rich. Yeah, I mean, I do feel it for the boy, right? You know, season-ending injury there, and I think he had some flashes this season, right, where you're like, oh, there's Deshaun.
Yeah.
But man, for that playing style, I don't know if you have any
that contract, right? You signed the
contract.
biggest fully guaranteed contract in NFL history, and you get 6 games a year for the first 2 years of it. Very
Pretty
Cleveland
nice.
thing.
Such a Cleveland thing to do.
Yeah. Reid, I don't know if we've talked to you since the season has started. What's your biggest non-Patriots surprise of the year?
There's been a couple, but the wildest one for me has been Cincinnati. And I know we're talking injuries, but Joe Burrow's injury before that aside, you're looking at that offense, you're looking at T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, very, very, very good tight end. Jamar Chase. I'm a big fantasy football guy. Everyone was drafting him first, second. You know, he was 1-2 ADP. Very quiet in Cincinnati. That's been the big shocker for me. I can't believe what that
Defense,
means.
middle of the road too, right? We kind of thought they were ready to be the juggernaut in the AFC.
Yeah. I thought they had it all going for him, and then it's just like it doesn't matter how many things you have in place, and you still got to play the game clearly, and they're not doing that well.
Yeah, and this is we're talking post Thursday night, so now we know that Joe Burrow's out for the year with that wrist injury, and so turn off the lights in Cincinnati. When you're, what are you gonna do? The rumor mill is running wild, but I don't know what you do. Who's on the street you can come and plug in Cincinnati that's going to be able to run out?
And it's funny because like if this happened a few weeks ago, Josh Dobbs would have been a real option for them to pop in, as he did for Minnesota, and has looked pretty darn good in that situation. So it's
Well, you look at if you're Cleveland, right? You have to wonder how they feel about that whole thing because they had that guy. Chase Daniel late Friday night tweeted out that this NFL owners are getting what they deserve for not paying backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the hell the state of everything looks like in that whole regard, because I have trouble keeping up with who's starting in the NFL these days, let alone the backup situation. But you look at again the Joe Burrow contract situation. I mean, how much is the state of Ohio out right now in salary due to injury? Like
almost $1 billion, right?
Yeah, Joe Burrow's his deal was like $55 million a year. Like,
Well, I think they're both guaranteed $500 million to combine. Right, I think it was both of them were over 250.
Yeah, that's what that state's economy needs. Yeah, that's good for them.
As long as they keep it in state, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Although we know Deshaun's going to head somewhere fun like Miami. I bet and start blowing that money down there. Yeah, damn shame.
Well, somewhere where they don't call the cops.
But besides that, the Aaron Rodgers thing was. I'm not a Jets fan. I'm the antithesis of a Jets fan.
Yeah,
very anti-Jets, but I was excited to see the product that they were going to put out this season with a guy like Aaron Rodgers there, and here we are, just week 10, week 11 here, and Aaron Rodgers is smoking cigars, drinking bourbon, doing his best Reid Homer impersonation. So I'm like, what a wacky world we live in.
Yeah, a lot of rumor that we might see him by week 13.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I watched Kevin Durant in maybe 2013 do a similar dance, and I watched him come out and play really well for 2 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
then I watched that thing roll up into his knee.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking at. In a situation like that, it's just like, just let the situation pan out as it is. Aaron does not need to come back this year. I'd be surprised if he came back, but I'm also not going to be surprised because it's Aaron Rodgers. He's out of his freaking gourd. So, I don't know, man. This is why you have to have kids, and then you have to have something else going on. It can't be just football.
Yeah, I mean, they're 4-5 right now. They're third in the NFC East. They play Buffalo this week. I think, if they come out, if they're in the playoff position in week 13, you think it's a big surprise if Aaron Rodgers comes trotting out of that tunnel?
No, that would not be a surprise at all. But I just don't know how that team is able to pull it off.
Well, and I think it's a big disservice to Zach Wilson, honestly. Right? If Zach Wilson gets you to the dance and then you just bring in the ringer, that feels like you're setting that kid back. And if really the Jets organization was bringing in Aaron Rodgers to help groom Zach Wilson for the future, I don't know how you do that. I think you let Zach Wilson bring this year in home, right? Whatever this year is, set him down next year, right? Let him marinate in what he learned, grow from Aaron Rodgers a little bit next year, let Aaron ride off to the sunset, and then turn it over to Zach Wilson. I think that's a good play.
Yeah, I mean, right now Zach Wilson's a very expensive fluffer, essentially, and then because that's the posture kind of they're looking at. But I don't know. I'd be very interested.
About killing the kid's confidence, right? You let him play 13 weeks, and he's going to get you on the edge of the playoffs, and then you're just going to be like, "Hey, buddy,
sorry." Yeah, it's just like again, I'm still very sensitive to what happened to Tua last year with the Deshaun Watson talk. You got a young quarterback in there, a good quarterback, and everyone's talking about bringing in Deshaun. And looking back, where those two situations are right now, shame on you, Miami. But they're too cooked out, and the weather's too good to even pay attention to that kind of thing. But
you wonder about that too with that Tom Brady fiasco down in Miami too, right? Same time frame.
Yep. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff popping off in Miami. You just don't really care.
Yeah, it's too good down there. It's too good down there.
That's why it's all wild and crazy.
When the weather's that good, it usually is.
Do you think that we'll switch a little bit of gears here in the NFL wise? Do you think that the Tom Brady Belichick marriage was really that important to Bill Belichick? That what do you think is the matter there? Do you think it's because I have a working theory that coaches shouldn't be GMs, right? I think that Vrabel's case one, right, who comes from the Belichick tree.
Yep.
I think that it works well in college, and so I think that they see what Saban's able to do, and they try to play that game, and it just doesn't work very well in the NFL.
No, and I think it's pretty clear that it just doesn't work for Bill Belichick. He's walked a lot of talent on both sides of the ball out of there just for the most minor of transgression. Like, we're not even talking like serious shit. Like Jamie Collins asked for more money. We sent his ass to Cleveland when Cleveland was not a viable defense as it is today, or great defense as it is today.
And then brought him back later. Right.
Brought him back later, after he learned his lesson. It's just like you just see stuff like that, and you see the product we're putting out there right now. I believe me, I'm not a Mac Jones apologist, and I think it's hard to judge Belichick, the coach, from the on-field play because of a guy like Mac Jones. But he also doesn't have anybody to throw the darn ball to,
and I would say too, because I'm a nerd, and so I watch the All-22 tape a lot of times, and he doesn't have anything to throw to, but two, no one's blocking either, and there's no run game. So while Mac Jones is a problem, he's not the problem.
No, he's just another brick in the wall there. And again, I do feel bad for him in that situation because I wonder what it looks like if they did have a couple of key elemental pieces in place. I've been pretty happy with what I've seen on the defensive side of the ball from the Patriots, especially in division play in the AFC East, where we played the Jets, we played Buffalo, we played Miami pretty tough, considering how lethal those teams have been at times. But you just look at it holistically, and you're like, man, I don't think Bill Belichick should be wearing that GM hat anymore. And I got a lot of buddies around here that we sit around, smoke cigars, and that's the vibe in Boston right now. It's like Bill Belichick, the coach, that'd be a tough loss for us. But Bill Belichick, the GM, we're not seeing it anymore. And when you had a Tom Brady, it was easy because people wanted to play with it.
Right, everyone signs up for that. And I think you have the same conversation in Tennessee right now. Right? You look at how good Tennessee was, like on the cusp of doing some real big things, and then Vrabel's the GM there. And I love Vrabel the coach. I think fantastic, right?
I think there's a couple of big lessons that we're really learning here in the NFL. Is like keep Taylor Swift off the TV, because I think that's going to start hurting our numbers. Don't let head coaches be GMs, and stop paying quarterbacks so much darn money. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of eggs in one basket.
Crazy. It's crazy. I have a conversation, an ongoing conversation in the barbershop, where I have a friend who's like, well, you have to slot the quarterbacks, and that's why the money keeps going up. And I'm like, man, bullshit. Like, someone's got to stand in and like stop the madness. You can't tie the quarterback's not worth 33% of the salary.
No.
Or whatever the number is. Like, that's crazy. You look at what it's doing to these teams.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Russell Wilson in Seattle. You're seeing it in Cincinnati. You're seeing, like, when all these contracts, you're seeing it right now, you're seeing it in Kansas City.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, say what you want to say about Tyreek Hill, but that offense in Cincinnati or in Kansas City is not what it was or what it could be. Mahomes didn't break the bank necessarily, right? But he took enough.
He took a very big chance. Yeah.
And they decided to pay the rest of that money into Travis Kelce, right? And then Chris Jones, like, they didn't have enough money to get Chris Jones done. And then, they lost some defense stuff, and like, they're good, but they're not juggernauts.
Yeah. And then you see that trickle over back to your offense again, because now the snap counts are higher for everybody across the board. And again, if you don't have a bang up O-line, you have the Joe Burrow situation where the highest paid quarterback in the league is all of a sudden not playing the rest of the darn season. So
for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, again, it goes back to your Bill Belichick thing, where it's you gotta distribute. He's got to learn to delegate that responsibility to someone else. There's clearly very intelligent guys out there who can dedicate themselves to being a GM. I mean, we have quarterbacks coaches, running backs coaches, linebacker coaches, tight end coaches, right? But then you have a coach who's doing two very big, huge, gigantic jobs.
Massive jobs. I mean, if you look at what's happening in Seattle with John Snyder and Pete Carroll, right? This team's been competitive for 12 years.
Yep. It's nuts.
You look at what's happening even in LA right now with the Rams, right? Like, they're on a down year, but it's really not that big of a down year. Like, they're still in games and moving stuff, and they've got big money that they've got spread across a lot of different spots. They trade all these picks and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah,
but they're not down and out, right? You look at what's happening in Detroit. You look at what's happening, across the board.
The Rams is a good example of like having a good dedicated GM. Is you saw their stud receiver Cooper Kupp didn't play the first 4 or 5 games.
Yep.
This kid comes out of nowhere, Puka Nacua there.
Yep.
And nobody missed Cooper Kupp. And now Cooper Kupp's back. You got 2 stud. It's like having 2 Lockets. It's absurd.
It's unbelievable because they even have their top running back has been on IR for 4 weeks, and they haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, Darnell Henderson's filling in, and who's the other brother there? Whatever. I can't remember his name.
They even traded Cam Akers, who's getting a real run in Minnesota, because they've been able to run through there, but they've got a GM who can talk to scouts because he's not running practice.
Yep, he's not doing anything else.
And I think you look at even in Seattle, they lost both their tackles for the first 4 games. Both starting tackles ran that out. You know what I mean? Like, all these things. But when you've got scouts and you've got all of the stuff you're running behind the scenes as the general manager, you could fill those gaps pretty together.
Yeah, and it's like, again,
look at what's happening in Minnesota, right? I think that we would have thought that Justin Jefferson was probably done for the year. When Kirk Cousins went down, I said, Justin Jefferson's not going to play the rest of this year.
Yeah.
And then we're thinking about maybe trotting him out this week because he loves Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
Because they went about it because they had a GM that was like, hey, man, I think we can still get better because this rookie kid, like, we thought we could groom him this year, you know. Then Josh Dobbs does his thing, and here they come. They might still be. Who knows what happens in the NFC North?
I know, and like that Minnesota situation was wild because you're looking at you have like the kind of linchpin of their offense in the backfield with Dalvin Cook is now in New York, New Jersey. Yeah, and then Alexander Madison has not been doing Alexander Madison things like he did previous years when he got the call. But Justin Jefferson goes down, and then this kid Jordan Addison comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, you have two Justin Jeffersons. What is going on here? It's like it's crazy.
Well, that T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, like they've got real pieces who they traded for out of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Another shrewd move by the GM. I mean, we're talking about the same things here. All these teams that are able to rebound from injuries. Then just to beat this thing even further on the ground, like you look at what's happening in Tennessee, you've got three quarterbacks that were drafted. Like you had Tannehill, who's obviously the downside of his career, moving on the way out, right? But still a serviceable, somewhat of a quarterback in that organization. But then you've got a first round or two second round picks that you took in back-to-back years. What are you doing? Why? Like what's the deal there? You know what I mean? You trade AJ Brown because you didn't want to pay him for whatever reason.
That didn't make a lick of sense, and I thought honestly Ryan Tannehill was done when that happened. Good on him for keeping it together. Yeah, right. But then they, put a GM, coach, and that works well together in Philly. And look at the juggernaut they got there. So anyway. Yep. So I think that's the problem in New England, and it's not a problem only in New England. It's going around right now.
Yeah, and all those spots, right?
Yeah.
You know what's really exciting? What I think is fun though, and I hope they keep the band together, is what they got brewing in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah,
and that Antonio Pierce sign like head coach thing there. Like, if you watch any of that stuff, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean that's the and man, Josh McDaniels. When are people going to stop taking stabs at that guy? Like, how many times do you have to sing this song and see this movie?
Yeah,
him
and Robert Kraft are already hooked up again right now, right? We can agree to that.
Oh yeah, they were at a Soapy down in Florida. Getting the deal worked out.
Just making sure he was all lined up and feeling better about himself. Reid, you want to talk about a couple games this week?
Yes,
there's not any real bangers this week. It's a pretty dry schedule. It's like Pittsburgh Cleveland was a fun game until recently. It feels like Pittsburgh maybe the defense in Cleveland's still the defense in Cleveland, but.
Yeah, I mean, like short of Garrett taking off his helmet and hitting Kenny Pickett with it again.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh's defense is so good too, right? I mean, you watch them. They don't jump off the stat sheet, man, but you watch. They got a little bit of a blow last week, losing in. I can't remember what his name is right now. The other guy on the other side, T.J. Watt, that edge rusher they had. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. And I don't.
Anyway, he tore his Achilles, so that's a real rough break for them, but that's not going to slow them down. T.J. Watt, the one storyline of this is that, T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are racing to try to catch Reggie White for the most sacks in the first 100 games.
Yep.
And T.J. Watt's ahead by like 2 sacks, so it'll be fun to watch those two guys go at it.
That's a fun storyline for that game, and it was cool seeing T.J. Watt surpass his brother and what J.J. had to say about that.
Yep.
It's really cool to see that going on. JJ's thinking about coming back to Houston now that Houston's all exciting again.
Yeah.
It's amazing getting rid of Bill O'Brien, what that'll do for someone. Yeah, what else you got in the game that you're excited about this week?
I think sneakily Tampa Bay going into San Francisco is a lot of fun. San Francisco's a weird thing. Like Deebo Samuel makes that team run. That San Francisco team run.
Very different looking team when Deebo's out there slithering around.
Yeah,
it's amazing how that looks. And that's not to take anything away from Kittle or Ayuk or anything like that.
Oh,
but a boy like Deebo, man.
Deebo is just the personality that makes that whole thing tick, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy that makes sure everyone's heads are straight, right? He's in the huddle making sure everyone's got their minds right. like that. It's always everyone like the vibe is correct when Debo's on the sideline. You can see it.
I never watch dedicated games. It's usually just red zone for the Sunday, early 100%. Window and late afternoon window, and you can still see Debo out there, shoving dudes, lining up, getting in people's faces on his team. Getting it's just like you just love to see that kind of fire and that energy for a guy, who's. I don't think he's top 10 in salary in the league or anything like that, but he gives a shit more than anybody that I can tell right now.
The only dedicated game I ever watched is my own team's.
Yeah.
Live, right? Unless it's a standalone, Sunday night or Monday.
Yeah, Sunday, Monday, or Thursday.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch a good game later, but, whatever. This Minnesota-Denver game is intriguing to me because Denver feels like they're turning the corner.
Yep.
But also Minnesota's got a bit of a little flair to them, right? Like, who knows what they're really doing.
And again, Josh Dobbs put together an actionable situation in Arizona while Kyler Murray was licking his wounds there. It was like, again, it wasn't great, and Josh Dobbs was making Josh Dobbs mistakes, but he progressed every week. And now seeing him come into this offense, which Minnesota, light years ahead of what Arizona can put out there in terms of weaponsville and stuff like that, TJ Hawkinson, Addison, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Very interesting to see.
Fantastic goal line, right?
Yeah.
And that's, a serviceable
night and day situation. Yep. Night and day situation for him. So,
and not to be lost on anything, Josh Dobbs is a bona fide astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like a real deal rocket scientist. And so, maybe one of the best storylines of the year is him walking in on a Wednesday, not really going to practice, not knowing anything, not studying the playbook, is content to be on the sideline, let that rookie run, and then being thrust into the game and just being like, all right,
here we go.
What are y'all running? And then going and winning the damn thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then come back the next week and, doing it all over again with a week of preparation.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the Baker Mayfield thing last year was cool when he went to the Rams and they flew out and, grilled him on the plane and got him ready to start and all that. Like, that was a cool story. This Dobbs story is better.
Oh, yeah. And Dobbs is light years more likable, too.
48 hours to prepare, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Dobbs did it.
But, I mean, Baker Mayfield, he had such a storied college career where you've seen him do some Baker Mayfield shit. You know what I mean? So you're not really all that surprised. Dobbs is like, where did this kid come from almost for someone who watches a little bit of CFB like me? So it's really cool to see. And I like when he went to the pro shop because he was trying to get his mom or something a jersey and they didn't have
in Arizona. They were like,
and he was such a good sport about the whole thing. I would have been a dick. I would have got fired.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Flipping tables and ripping over jerseys. Like they get those the T things where they hang the jerseys. I've been knocking those things over and
I'd be Denzel and John Q. I would have taken over the pro shop. I'm like, people are gonna start dying if I don't get my name on some of these outfits here.
Yeah, I got Rod Tidwell. For my agent. Screaming. The best game of the week probably though is this Philadelphia Kansas City game. Right?
Oh God, yeah, that's gonna be a beauty.
I don't know if anyone is left. I know no one is left in Philadelphia from the Andy Reid days, but I think they all still feel Andy Reid's presence in Philadelphia. So I think it's a bit of a, there'll always be some Andy Reid feelings.
The fans will definitely bring that. Even if the locker room doesn't have it, the fans will bring it.
Yep. And I think there's just almost a passing of the torch a little bit. I think Jalen Hurts really wants to get over the top of Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what to make of Patrick Mahomes. I watched that quarterback show on Netflix, and I think he's content with where he is in his life. I think he's content just to be great, which is fine. I don't know that he cares to be I don't know that he's as driven as, he's driven, right? 100% he's driven, but I don't know that he's driven to be the greatest of all time like Tom Brady was.
Yep.
And that's perfectly fine. He definitely wants to win.
I don't think Patrick had the chip on his shoulder that Brady did, though. You know what I mean?
I agree, but I thought he did coming in, right?
He looked like
for the last handful of years. I thought that's who he was, and this year I thought, you know what? I don't think that he cares if they go 15 and whatever or undefeated for a year or I think he's just wants to win championships.
Yeah.
Doesn't care if he's the best quarterback in the league necessarily. knows he has the talent, is just like marking the course, and he's like, the end goal is very Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's overstated either to say they really miss Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we really haven't talked about a lot, is like that they've switched coordinators. And that's, you kind of really are starting to see it. You know, they've really downplayed it, right? Like, oh, we're fine, blah, 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 blah. But they're not fine. I think.
No, I think we're still kind of attributing it. We did this earlier on the show. We're really still attributing it to the Tyreek Hill departure, right?
Yeah.
Which is that guy is a gigantic safety net for a lot of. He forgives a lot of sins, right? But you're right, Eric Bieniemy not being in the picture anymore. That's a lot. That's a guy who's a mentor, who's like maybe a dad to some of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously a great mind.
And he's an extension of Andy Reid. I think those two were so locked in that there wasn't ever, I think there's a lot to be said about getting a play call in at 7 seconds versus getting in at 14 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and you see that on the field all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And again,
blow the line, right?
Yep.
Less adjustment, less whatever, and then down players or whatever else, and that's just where it is.
And I think they're lucky to have such a pragmatic coach, quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes, who's just like, I'm just going to win games. I'm going to try to do my best every time I go out there. He's clearly game as shit too. I mean, like, you see him play through injuries and stuff like that. Like, I'd like to shit on him, but it's hard to do. Especially with all the off-field crap with his stupid brother and his crazy wife and all this other nonsense, and he's just in the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. His head is really cemented on the field. Yeah, and his wife is living her wet dream right now. Oh my god!
Right, just think about this is her wet dream. It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's my wet dream. That'd be real nice.
You want to have a husband who's an all-pro quarterback, and then you're friends with Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Choreographed. Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, I can get with you. You're doing choreographed, dances in the owner's booth.
Yeah, me and Jackson in jail. We're just getting after it.
How creepy was it that Jackson was trying to get into the dance between his sister-in-law and Taylor Swift?
That is so bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I love my brothers, but I would not let them anywhere near that situation. I would deny that we're related all day.
I'd let Travis Kelce beat my brother's ass if that was the case.
Oh, beat him to death. I'd let Travis Kelce's brother beat my brother to death.
They're even better. My favorite thing this week was showing have you seen the meme going around of the Kelce brothers at Cincinnati?
No.
I'll send it to you. It's fantastic. Anyone else that's listening and wants to see it, you just go Google it. It's those two fellas, and they don't look like they look today. And it says one of these guys was voted into the NFL's sexiest man of the year. The other one's dating Taylor Swift. And they both look like trash.
Oh my god. Yeah, I've seen a couple of their Cincinnati pictures, and it's good god.
Yeah. The Kelce brothers in Cincinnati are not who they were later in life. No.
Neither of those dudes are babes.
Yeah, they've aged quite well. Speaking of babes, not Tom Brady's. And neither is the other two guys, but they are giant humans in their own right. Reid, did you watch the Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou fight? I
did. I really, really did. Yeah. I was not excited to watch it either until the fight started. And I was just like, shit,
about 30 seconds in the first round, you're like, oh man, Francis decided to come because I got the sense from Tyson, and I felt like it even held up during the fight, that he was not there to play around. He's not the Floyd Mayweather or Mayweather, whatever we're calling him these days. In it for the show. Like he very much takes the legacy of boxing seriously. So he was.
I think Tyson Fury took it personally that he was fighting Francis Ngannou.
Yes, and it became apparent very quickly that so did Francis.
Francis also takes things very personally, right?
Yes.
You look at the storyline of Francis's entire freaking life, and then you look at the storyline of his departure from the UFC, and then you look at the storyline of him going I'm going to go find a place that's going to pay me the money and also pay whoever the hell I'm fighting the money, right?
Yeah.
And then, he's like, I've always had this dream of doing this thing in the sport of boxing. Yeah, Tyson Fury, let's do that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
the balls.
Yeah, and then to run out with it, and there's some argument to be made by some people that, I personally feel like Tyson Fury won that fight because I think you had to beat the champ, right? And I don't think he beat the champ, but it was a fantastic showing from Francis.
Fantastic showing, and again, the imagery of the knockdown is what lives in everyone's minds after that fight. And good on the WBC for ranking Francis after that performance. As they should.
Francis did what no one else has been able to do.
Yep.
And everyone else is afraid to do, right? I mean, how many other fighters, pound for pound, top fighters in the game are scared to get in the ring with Tyson Fury?
Almost all.
A lot. Anthony Joshua's dodging him.
Yep.
All these guys can't come to terms, can't do this stuff. Those two dice it up and they jump in there.
Yep.
I think Francis gave him the best run on anyone because Francis has real power.
Scary power. And
Tyson found out about it, right? Tyson saw the leverage that Francis. The one thing that was interesting to me about the whole thing, and you have a fighting background, so maybe you can tell me how far base this is. But it seemed like Francis understood leverage better than most boxers do.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take it back to a thing that we saw in the UFC when he fought Overeem and knocked him out. It was such a spectacular knockout. What a lot of people missed is Overeem has consistently been the most technical striker in the heavyweight division across Pride, UFC, K1 kickboxing, Glory kickboxing. Like, he's still heralded legendary skill, very high IQ in the ring. For Francis to be able to get into the position to deliver that kind of uppercut, put him in that position, checkmate the guy. Yeah. And then to do this to Tyson Fury, understanding the things that you're talking about with like the leverage, the range, the positioning, getting to the punch first or sitting back when you have to. He showed so many different looks in that fight that, I still have to go back and watch it a couple more times to really understand what the hell happened. I'm going to wait for some of my favorite YouTube followers to do it for me. But it was pretty incredible to see that. This isn't the first time he's done something like this, though. And that Overeem situation, whether he knocked him out with that punch or not was irrelevant, right? Just as it was with Tyson Fury. Getting to a point like that on a guy like that, like an Overeem or Tyson Fury, who's incredibly technical. Terrifying. And I think he's going to be terrorizing.
He's going to fall in love with boxing all over again. I love to see it. Like, it was an actual real fight,
And boy, how bad did boxing need this? How fucking bad does boxing need Francis Ngannou right now? Either he doesn't know any better to not play these contractual games that so many guys like to play, or he's doing it in spite of those games, right? Where he's just like, I'll just go fight Tyson Fury for my first big boxing match. Why not? Right?
Well, I think that's been his MO, though, right? He's always been that way. Every organization he's been to is like, just give me the baddest one out there.
Yeah, and I remember not too long ago we were talking about he had the yips. They were like, oh, he can't perform psychologically. Look at the guy. Where's that cop talk now?
Yeah, I always like the. I laughed when the UFC had the BMF fight and it didn't contain some of these other dudes, and I was like, man, I wish just for once Dana would just loosen the purse string and have a real BMF. Right, and drag out the real BMFs and just pay him whatever it's worth, and like, let's line them up and let's see what's what.
Yeah, I mean, do like maybe not a single night Grand Prix, but have like a tournament, right, where it's like, because just and again, I'm not saying those two dudes weren't BMFs, either time they did it, but how you have that conversation when Steve Ngannou, like real bad dudes. They would eat both of us on the street.
Murderer. Real murderer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's but I'll tell you, man, again, I don't want to I can't stress this enough that boxing needed Francis Ngannou. I didn't realize it until I saw the fight. I didn't think anything of this.
I'm going to become a big Tyson Fury fan because I feel like boxing needed him. But I agree with you that I didn't realize how much they needed Francis Ngannou, and the marriage of those two together was just a beautiful moment. And I didn't realize it until the fight started, right?
Yep.
I saw, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a good matchup and all those things. And it started. You started to see the beauty of the footwork and watch the placement. And they were fighting, because that's my big beef with boxing. That's why I love UFC so much, is there was so much action, and those guys were like, you know what? Like, we're just gonna get to work. Like, the feeling out process is the feeling out process. We all understand that, but there's no dancing, right? There's no showmanship here. We're not waiting to engage. Like, we're gonna engage, and go. And like, that thing was just it just invoked the old heavyweights, right? The Holyfield and the Tysons and
it was the heavyweight situation in the 90s and 80s and 70s, all those legends and stuff like that. Yeah. It's been, and again, Tyson's always been this, right? But it doesn't work when you just have one Tyson Fury, right? Yeah. Like in the 90s, you had so many personalities in the heavyweight division. We had one for the last 5-6 years, and then you had Anthony Joshua, Joel Ortiz, these guys being wimps. Joshua Ortiz, sorry. And it's like,
and the guys they're running their mouths and they just don't want to get in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, just shut up and let's go.
Yeah, and no wonder the sport got hijacked by those two knuckleheads. What was that? Paul brothers. No wonder the sport got hijacked by that.
Yep.
No wonder.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah, but
then we got Francis Tyson.
St. Francis is here to save us.
Yes, sir.
Who would have thunk it?
Savior we needed. Spanning multiple sports.
I know. When's he gonna start in the NFL? That's what I want to see.
Next year.
I want to see. Yeah, he's gonna just jump in somewhere.
Yeah, he's gonna play D-line for somebody. Someone sign and play D-line with that massive wingspan. Just imagine that guy just eating up two tags, just chest punching somebody.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yeah. I'll have one final question, and we'll close this thing out of here. But how crazy is it that Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback that can execute a proper quarterback sneak these days?
I'm seeing that the brotherly shove thing get thrown around for every QB sneak that happens, and I've seen a couple of flashes. I'm a big red zone watcher, where you're like, oh shit! But Jalen Hurts, man. That kid is so
guaranteed 3 yards every time.
Every freaking yeah. You're not talking like a 4th and inches situation or a goal line. Like he 3 yards.
Yeah,
that's stupid.
It's him and Jason Kelsey, right?
Yeah.
You got two guys that can both squat over 600 pounds apiece.
Yep.
They're just bowling forward, and some guys pushing from behind to help out a little bit. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's scary because again, I watched Tom Brady have he was a sneaky QB sneak, right? Yeah. It wasn't and again, big guy, the Clydesdale, right? But with Jalen Hurts and again the Kelsey situation, you're talking I would not like to be in that situation because it looks like a safe play.
But the QB sneak guys, right, where they dive between the center and the guard.
Yeah,
right. And they're long, and they're sneaky, and they almost go sideways and get their shoulders parallel and slide through.
That's not what
That's not what this is. This thing that Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce have perfected is an entirely different animal. And I love these other jackasses trying to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. And it's the effective rate of it, too, is still every time it's brought up, I'm shocked by how effective it is. It's messed up.
I thought it was really funny when they had the Colts. I don't know if you saw us on Red Zone last week, but the Colts had a similar situation. And Gardner Minshew had talked to the announcer and telling everyone that Gardner Minshew wanted everyone to know that he squats over 450. So he could also, the brotherly shove was in his wheelhouse because he squatted 450. And I thought, Gardner, that's cool that you squat 450, but that's in normal folks' range, and it's not 600. 600 is another 150. That's another average human dude.
That's an average adult male.
That's not You're not in the 600 world, buddy. That's 600 is real weight.
But that's why we love Gardner Minshew, right?
He's in his George, right? He's in his George down at Gold's Gym, just cold squatting 450 with the other jabronis, right?
Probably has a couple of Keystone Lights going. We have to adjust for the Keystone Light inflation. Maybe it's 600 if he's not pound and bruised. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. But I thought that was the funniest thing. Him and his little mustache and his jorts are just knocking back 450s. At Gold's, right? You're probably king of Gold's at 450.
Yeah. No one's paying attention.
Yep.
Maybe Planet Fitness. Yeah. Planet Fitness, they might be 450. All right.
Yeah, 450. We're gonna write your name in chalk up here on this record board at 450. All right, with that, let's close it out. Reid, any final closing words?
No, I'm in this space. I'm trying to do my thing. Stay the fuck out of my way.
I love it. That might have been your first step on the whole show. We missed you.
Nice. Oh yeah, I waited till your kid was in the room too, of course.
She knows. She knows the girl. She says she's perfected the word friggin' so close that it sounds like she says it. So if she says like whatever it is, it sounds like she's really dropping it. I would have to. What did you say?
What was that?
Yeah. She can hear me, so she'll even know I'm on the game. But it's like, I'm not entirely sure she doesn't say it, and then when I ask her what she says the proper word. I'm not entirely sure she doesn't do that yet. She's on that level.
No, you get played. She's winning.
100% I am. All right, brother. Well, Reid, thanks for filling in. It's always good to see you. We'll talk to you real soon. Man, I love the shit out of you.
I love you.
You're one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
All right.
Hands down.
Folks, till next time, be good or be good at it.